My husband has this childhood sweetheart who he doesn't even try to hide his favoritism toward. Well, two can play that game, so I reconnected with my own childhood neighbor. When my husband wanted to lend his family heirloom bracelet to his friend to help her look good at an event, I decided to strike first. By the way, Mike came over to our house today. I casually mentioned he accidentally broke that wish bottle in our bedroom. It wasn't intentional, so don't be mad at him. He's like a brother to me. He felt so guilty that I gave him that box of fountain pens from your study to make him feel better. That wish bottle was a birthday gift for my husband Jason. It contained 999 paper stars that he spent a month folding. And those fountain pens? They were custom made for our wedding anniversary. Jason's face turned ghostly white, his eyes wide with shock. Why was Mike in our house and in our bedroom? His voice was hoarse. I shrugged like it was no big deal. He flew back to the States today. I picked him up from the airport and invited him over. Gave him a tour of the place. We're childhood neighbors. It's totally normal. But he broke my gift to you, Jason shouted, barely containing his anger. I rubbed my ear with annoyance. I know. Why are you yelling? It's just a glass bottle. If it bothers you that much, I'll buy you another one. Jason's hands balled into fists. Is that the point? There were 999 star, each one folded by me with love notes written on them. Do you care so little about them? And you gave him our anniversary gift. What exactly is going on between you two, Emma? Do I even matter to you anymore? Oh, he's getting upset now. I clicked my tongue disapprovingly. Come on, don't be so petty. I already told you we're just neighbors. I only see him as a brother. If there was something between us, it would have happened long ago. Why would I have married you instead? Saying those words felt incredibly satisfying. Then I quickly switched to a gentle, loving tone. Honey, don't overthink things. You know you're the only one in my heart. Let's stop arguing. I'm tired and going to bed. I ignored Jason's gloomy expression and got up to leave, but he suddenly grabbed my hand. He examined my face carefully, searching for something. I maintained a calm expression while he studied me. After a moment, he sighed and said with restrained emotion, Fine, just be more careful next time. By the way, Sarah needs to walk the red carpet tomorrow night. Can she borrow your mother's emerald bracelet? It would help her make a good impression. And there it is. The fool makes his move. The bracelet. Oh, why didn't you say so earlier? I exclaimed. What do you mean? He asked. Mike is holding his concert tomorrow night. His mother will be there for interviews, and since she doesn't have any suitable jewelry, I already lent it to her. Jason was stunned. You lent it out? Yes. That was your mother's heirloom, and you just casually gave it to someone else. See, he knows it's my mother's memento, yet he had no problem asking me to lend it to his childhood sweetheart. You make it sound like she's a stranger. Mike's mom was my mother's best friend. What's wrong with lending it to her? Besides, she's Mike's mother. When he asked, I couldn't really refuse. Jason's face darkened as if he was seeing a stranger. Mike again? You did this for him? Just as he was about to continue, his phone rang. He glanced at it, pressed his lips together, and gave me a long look before walking to the balcony. I bet that's his precious Sarah, checking if he completed his mission. Too bad that mission failed. I tossed my hair and headed to our bedroom. When I first arrived in this story, I wanted to strangle the system that sent me here. This was the most typical toxic romance novel. The main couple had been together for 6 years and married for 4 until the husband's childhood sweetheart showed up and ruined everything. The husband kept lowering his standards for her, letting her frame and sabotage his wife until she developed depression and jumped off a building. Only after his wife's death did he regret everything. The husband in these stories is just pathetic. Does he love his wife, yet he's two-timing her, taking advantage of her devotion while always siding with his childhood friend, making his wife suffer endless humiliation? Does he not love his wife? Then why after her death does he become devastated, torturing his childhood friend until she's barely human, practically wishing she could join his wife in death? It's all about not appreciating what you have until it's gone. And somehow readers eat this stuff up. But in these stories, the tool husband genuinely loves his wife, me, Emma. So when I treat him the way he's about to treat me, it really hurts him. Why should I have to hurt myself to score points in this game? I won't do that to myself. Instead of hurting myself, I'll treat myself with kindness while driving him crazy. I'll beat the cheater at his own game. The system showed me I'd already reached 10% on the heartbreak. He was genuinely hurt. When I stood up for Mike, I smiled brightly. This is just the beginning. There's plenty more pain coming his way. What makes a cheater is that he never sees anything wrong with his boundary-crossing behavior. Without my emerald bracelet, Jason gave Sarah an entire ruby jewelry set he'd bought at an auction, necklace, earrings, and rings. With this expensive set, Sarah, a nobody in the entertainment industry, caught photographers' attention and quickly went viral. After the red carpet and gala ended, Jason personally picked her up. Unfortunately for him, the paparazzi caught them together. Suddenly, rumors of romance between an unknown actress and a powerful CEO were spreading like wildfire. Sarah's popularity instantly shot up. In the original story, Jason's explanation was dismissive, just calling it a misunderstanding. The wife spent the entire night awake, devastated. I'm sure that's how he planned to explain it to me, too. But unfortunately for him, he couldn't find me. While he was picking up Sarah, I was attending Mike's concert. Mike is a pianist who graduated from a prestigious music school abroad and has held numerous successful concerts. In terms of fame, he's far more well-known than Sarah. After Mike's concert, fans accidentally captured photos of us dining at a romantic restaurant. Due to the camera angle, our conversation looked suspicious. Suspiciously like we were kissing. Once those photos hit social media, they caused an absolute uproar. The buzz quickly overshadowed Sarah's fresh gossip. Like Sarah, Mike didn't bother to clarify the rumors online. Things got very interesting. When I finally returned home, slightly tipsy, Jason was sitting on the couch. In front of him was an ashtray filled halfway with cigarette ash, still glowing. I frowned and waved away the heavy smoke. "It's so late. Why are you still in the living room?" Jason threw his phone on the table. The screen showed the photo of Mike and me supposedly kissing. "Do you want to explain this?" I leaned back against the door frame, the leather of my bag squeaking as it slid down my shoulder. The photo on his screen showed two silhouettes angled toward each other, candlelight cutting our profiles into something far more intimate than it had been. "Explain?" I rubbed my temple, letting the faint buzz of wine soften the edges of my voice. "Isn't this what you tell the press every time you and Sarah end up in the same frame? Misunderstanding, perspective, wrong angle, car door, not a kiss." His jaw flexed. "Don't do that, Emma." "Do what?" "Use your lines." I padded past him and opened a window. Cool air shoved aside the smoke. "You were unreachable tonight, and I didn't want to disturb your date. Oh, sorry, your professional pickup service." He stood. The tendons in his neck stood with him. "I was picking her up because she was being followed. I didn't want a swarm of men with cameras surrounding her at midnight." "Chivalry looks great on you," I said lightly. "Almost as great as rubies. Bold choice. I thought we were keeping heirlooms for family." He stared at me, then at the ashtray, then back at the photo as if it might change. "Were you kissing him? You mean Mike?" "No." I took off my earring and set it on the table with a soft tick. "But if I had been, what then? Would you finally acknowledge we have a problem?" "We don't have a problem." He shot back too fast. "We have. You suddenly making reckless decisions to provoke me. You gave my anniversary gift away. You let that man into our bedroom. You lent out your mother's bracelet. Your mother's Emma without even asking me. And now this." The system chimed almost cheerfully in the back of my mind. Heartbreak progress, 18%. I folded my arms and leaned on the window rail. "Let's consider our standards," I said. "You take selfies with your childhood sweetheart in your company lobby, whisper to her on balconies, personally escort her after galas, buy her jewels, and label it all a misunderstanding. I eat dinner with a neighbor I grew up with, a dinner after his concert, by the way, which was sold out and brilliant, and suddenly I'm committing treason. One of these sounds more like a misunderstanding than the other." A vein beat at his temple. "Delete the post." "What post?" "Whatever that is." He jabbed the air toward the phone. "Tell your friend to take down the photo." I blinked at him pleasantly blank. "My friend? Jason, that's from a fan account. Mike and I didn't post anything. He's not performing for paparazzi. He's a pianist, not a PR stunt." He swallowed hard. "Then clarify it." I smiled. I'm sure Sarah will handle clarifications for the both of us. She seems very experienced." His mouth opened closed. The muscles in his cheeks worked. A long beak passed. Then quietly, "Are you trying to hurt me?" The ceiling light hummed. Out in the street, a horn bleeped, impatient and ordinary. I thought of the paper stars he'd folded with cramped fingers, each one hiding a tiny note he'd written, and the glass shards glittering on our bedroom rug this afternoon like a malicious constellation. The system's first progress bar had winked to life then, pale and clinical. "No," I said. "I'm trying not to hurt myself anymore." He flinched, and the system ticked. Heartbreak progress 22%. We'd slept in separate rooms that night. No slammed doors, no thrown objects, just the quiet shuffle of two people placing distance like a folded blanket between them and calling it temporary. I sat my phone face down and drifted for an hour before the screen pulsed against the nightstand. Mike. "Got home safe. Mom says the emerald is stunning but heavy. She'll use it only for the interview segment. Insurance stock attached, returning at noon tomorrow. She insists on handing it to you personally." I typed, "Tell her I'll meet her in the atrium at your hall at 12. And for one petty second, I pictured Jason reading those words over my shoulder. The system painted a thin blue line at the top of my vision. Scheduled interaction likely to increase target distress. Estimate plus 4 to 6%. Morning arrived with a headache and hashtags. Our housekeeper sat coffee and a plate of toast between two phones flaring with alerts. Jason came down in a white shirt, sleeves turned up to his forearms like he'd been working all night. His eyes found me first, then the devices. "My PR team is spinning it," he said. "It'll pass in a few days." "Which is it?" I buttered my toast. "The rubies, the ride home, or my misunderstanding?" "All of it." His tone was clipped, businesslike. "My mother called at 5. She's concerned." Of course she was concerned about him appearing reckless, about investors reading weakness, about an unnamed girl climbing on the scaffolding of our name. I sipped coffee. "Let's ease her mind, Ben," I said. "We'll announce a trial separation." The cup clicked against its saucer. His chair didn't move, but everything in him did. "No. It's logistics, Jason." I kept my voice gentle. "We live in the same house. We attend the same functions when necessary. We maintain polite distance. 30 days. You handle your public relations. I handle mine. At the end, we reassess." He stared at me like I'd suggested amputating a hand to save a paper cut. "We are not separating." "We already did," I said quietly and watched the words hit him. "Last night, you just didn't sign a press release." His breath frayed. The system tallied. Heartbreak progressed 27%. My phone buzzed again. This time a tabloid alert lighting the screen with a delicate tact of a bulldozer. Unknown starlet escorted by Griffin Group CEO after gala-exclusive video inside. The preview frame showed the rear door of his car in a sliver of Sarah's red dress. He reached for my phone. I slid it under my palm. A tiny, childish movement I didn't apologize for. "I've got a noon appointment," I said. "The returning of my mother's bracelet. You remember her best friend's son? He asked me as a favor." "You're doing this to spite me," he said through his teeth. "No," I stood and smoothed the hem of my blouse. "I'm doing this because I'm done asking permission to be treated with basic consideration." His laugh came out wrong. Too sharp. Basic consideration. Is that what dinner with him is now? Consideration? Considering how many dinners you've scheduled with your old friend, I think one is a fair baseline. He pushed his chair back so suddenly it shrieked against the tile. "You're enjoying this." "I'm surviving it," I said, and picked up my keys. Traffic was loud, the city sun unkind. In the atrium of the concert hall, Mike's mother stood under a cascade of glass bulbs. The emerald bracelet a cool glint on her wrist. Her smile was lined at the edges by years and kindness. "Your mother and I used to steal mangoes from the same vendor," she said as she fastened the bracelet into its velvet nest. "She'd get caught, and I'd distract the poor man by pretending to faint. We were terrible." Her eyes softened. "She would have loved to see you, unafraid." I swallowed something unexpectedly heavy. "Thank you for returning it in person." She patted my hand. "He's a good boy, you know, not because he plays, but because he listens when women say no." The system flicked a tiny gold star in my periphery. Emotional fortification acquired. Resistance plus 3%. We took a short photo together for the hall's newsletter. Just the two of us. No jewels in sight. Then I turned my phone back on. 50 new messages spooled down the screen like a waterfall. The top one was from Jason. "Come home. We need to talk now." Another from an unknown number. Then a flood of identical ones. "Please, Mr. Griffin, the reporters are outside my building. I can't leave. Can you send someone? It's Sarah. I'm scared." I reread both. I pictured Jason's face when he realized she texted me by mistake, that his starlet had grabbed the first Emma in his contacts, and that it was not in fact the Emma meant to rescue her. I forwarded the message to him without comment. Then I put my phone in my bag, stepped out into noon, and chose a cafe with a sunlit window and a lemon tart. I didn't have to ask permission to order. 20 minutes in, my chair cast a moving shadow over the tiled floor. Jason stood outside the glass, searching the room like a man who'd lost something he'd assumed would always be there. He came in breathless and angry and raw. "We're leaving," he said. Now I dabbed powdered sugar from my lip and lifted my gaze to his. "We're home. We need to fix this." "That will depend on your definition of fix." I said, "Sit, you can have a bite. It's sweet and a little sour like truth." He didn't sit. His phone vibrated in his hand, the screen lighting with Sarah's name again and again and again. "Answer her," I said softly. "Be her hero." He stared at the phone. The system hovered, waiting, counting, calculating trajectories neither of us could see yet. Heartbreak progressed 30%. He swiped to accept, lifted the phone, and then eyes still on mine. Let the call die. His voice, when he finally spoke, was rough. "I don't want to be anyone's hero but yours," the cafe hummed. The waiter set down a second fork without being asked. And somewhere outside, a siren wailed. My lemon tart tasted like a decision I hadn't made yet. Then the door chimed again, and 3 camera flashes burst white across the room. The first headline of the next hour was born in that light. The first flash stunned the lemon glaze into a sheet of white. The second caught Jason mid-breath, hand half extended toward mine like a man being arrested by light. The third belonged to someone who had elbowed between 2 strollers to get a clean shot through the cafe window. A waitress cursed softly. Cutlery chimed. "Sir, ma'am, over here, are you two reconciling? Is Griffin Group sponsoring Miss Hale's debut? Did you buy the ruby set for her or your wife to wear?" Jason slid instinctively in front of me, the way he always did when a car backed too close at a crosswalk. Jacket off, shoulders squared, a shelter where there hadn't been one a second before. A few more flashes popped against his shirt as he held the door for me with one arm and turned his face to shield mine with the other. "We're leaving," he said again. Lower now. Not at me this time, but at the cameras. I didn't argue. The hallway outside the cafe was a tunnel of question marks. The sidewalk a throat of sound. We moved through it together, his palm anchor at the small of my back, my spine stubbornly refusing to lean into it. The car door shut on the last shutter click. For a block, we said nothing. His hands were at 10 and 2, white at the knuckles. He took a breath. "Emma, about the statement." "What statement?" "The one you floated at breakfast. Trial separation. Don't do that." "Let me fix this. I'll handle the PR. I'll return the ruby set today. I'll put out a release. Mental relationship only. Inappropriate optics. My fault. His throat worked. "Cut ties with Sarah until it dies down." The system unspooled a ribbon across my vision. Proposed concessions detected. Effect on target distress variable. Accepting reduces immediate distress. Increases long-term remorse potential. My phone rung on my lap. I turned it over. My name, my own name, not a tabloid handle, trended third. The cafe photo was already there. We looked like a couple on the verge of either reconciliation or detonation. And in a small box in the corner, Sarah's live went silent midstream. Her stream had crashed from too many watchers. I'm not making a threat. I said it's a boundary. 30 days, no spin, no half-truths, no jewelry, no PR. You do whatever is necessary to untangle this. I gestured vaguely at the phone, the streams, the cacophony. I'll do the same. We don't need 30 days. We need clarity, I said, and opened the Notes app. While the city slid past, I typed a press statement with the calm of a surgeon stitching while the room burned. In light of recent speculation regarding our private life, Jason and I have agreed to a 30-day period of separation to reflect on our marriage with respect and privacy. We remain committed to treating one another with dignity. We ask for the same." I read it aloud. He flinched at the word separation. The system chimed. "Heartbreak progress 36. Posted from your account," I added. He glanced at me. Clenched jaws said, "You want me to announce I'm losing you?" "I want you to announce you're willing to think before you break something that takes years to build." He didn't answer, but when we pulled up in front of home, his phone buzzed twice. PR, then his mother, and then PR again. He exhaled, opened my door, and followed me in. In the foyer, the morning headlines lay like accusations. He watched as I went upstairs, pulled a carry-on from the closet, and set it open on the bench at the foot of the bed. "You're moving out." "I'm moving to the guest house," I said. "I'm not dramatic enough for a hotel, and I don't want strangers knowing my room number." He stood there as if his sheer presence could hold me to the carpet. I rolled sweaters with calm precision. When I lifted the jewelry tray, the box was lighter by an entire marriage. My wedding band sat beside it, a polite circle of silence. I slid both into the safe. Jason made a small broken sound. The system tallied. Heartbreak progress, 41%. He swallowed. "If I post that statement, will you? Will you answer my calls?" "I'll answer every call that isn't about her." He nodded, the smallest, angriest nod I'd ever seen, and left me to the soft geography of my suitcase. By noon, my statement lived on both our feeds. His caption was the same as mine. The comments split into tribes. Team Emma, Team Nobody, Team Burn It Down, while the investors sent emails with a worried politeness of people who believed capital could be allergic to scandal. I ate a sandwich I could taste and then walked alone to the guest house. The guest house smelled like pine and laundry detergent, a place where nothing bad had been said. I made the bed with sharp corners, unpacked half my clothes and none of my guilt, and opened the old shoebox on the nightstand. Inside, a handful of paper stars I'd rescued from the shards, edges crimped with his fingertips. I unfolded the top one. It was his handwriting, smaller than in his day-to-day, like he tried to fit feeling into the smallest possible space. "I will learn to say no to Sarah, even when she insists. I will choose you first." The system did not chime. It didn't need to. At 3, my phone lit with a call from PR asking if I would appear at a previously scheduled event that evening, a scholarship fundraiser for the conservatory Mike had graduated from. "It is tasteful," the woman promised. "No red carpet, just donors and a few students. Miss Lark, the dean, hoped you'd say a few words about legacy." "Legacy?" My mother's bracelet weighed its velvet box in my bag. I said yes. I wore black and emerald in a smile that did not give away anything important. Mike played Rockman off so tenderly that the 80-year-old bankers pretended they had allergies. When the dean asked me to speak, I kept it simple. "Legacy is what you loan and what you return," I said. "What you give without asking how it makes you look." My mother's best friend taught me that. So did my mother. I'm trying to learn it again. After Mike found me by the catering station, hair damp with sweat, eyes amused and soft. "You okay?" "Define." "Okay." He made a face. "Do you want me to clarify anything online? I can make a statement. Friends since childhood? Proud of you? That kind of thing." "No," I said. "Let them wonder. Mystery is good for piano tickets." He laughed, then turned serious. "He hurt you." "He is hurting," I said, and recognized the truth of it, even as I steadied myself on the table. "I'm not here to kill him. I'm here to stop dying by inches." The system glowed. Heartbreak progress 45%. Secondary metric unlocked. Self-preservation stabilized. On my way out, the dean tugged my sleeve. "There is a rumor the starlet might appear," she whispered, "for publicity." I told them, "No, this isn't that kind of stage." It landed later, just before midnight, the video that would aerosolize everything. Not from a tabloid, not from a rival. A makeup artist had posted a story and didn't hold the button long enough. 10 seconds of off-camera laughter and Sarah's voice is clear as glass. "Don't worry, the CEO is basically mine. He just thinks he's noble right now. Once his wife signs a separation, he'll follow. I told PR to bury that piano's picture, make her look cheap. He's already bought me jewelry. You don't buy rubies to be friends. The clip was deleted in under a minute. It took 30 seconds for someone to save it. I watched it twice, then a third time, hearing the part that wasn't words, the absolute confidence. I forwarded it to Jason. The dots appeared, vanished, appeared again. "I'm already at her building," he wrote. I heard it from someone else on the way. "I'm dealing with it." Dealing with it could have meant anything. A closed door rebuke, a phone confiscated by a bodyguard, a sudden silence arranged with money. But 30 minutes later, the Griffin Group posted a statement of its own. Effective immediately, Griffin Group severs all personal and professional ties with Miss Sarah Hale. We do not tolerate the manipulation of press or the harassment of private citizens. We apologize to our employees and community for a lapse in judgment that led to reputational harm. No euphemisms, no misunderstanding. I stared. The system pinged. Heartbreak progress 52%. Regret active. My screen lit with Jason again. "I can't undo this week," he wrote. "I can't unfurl the stars, but I can start by making it unambiguous. I've been a coward shadowing the edges of loyalty and calling it noble. I'm sorry." A second message followed slower. The wish bottle. I picked the glass. Every piece I could find. I flattened the notes that survived. "If you want, we can read them together tomorrow. Or I'll read them alone and then get the help I should have gotten a long time ago." It should have softened me. It did in a way I refused to look at too closely, but I also remembered the open car door, and the red dress, and my own hands signing off on 30 days because of anything less felt like asking the wolf to try lettuce. I typed and erased and typed again. In the end, I wrote, "Make a public apology to me, not a brand. Me, no press conference, no ties. Just you saying you prioritize someone else's comfort over your wife's dignity. And you were wrong. Then we can talk about the rest." He didn't reply immediately. When he did, it was only 2 words. "I will." Night folded around the guest house, quiet except for a sprinkle of raccoon feet across the fence. I lay awake listening to nothing to everything. Somewhere in the main house, a man rehearsed a speech by failing to get the first sentence out and starting over. The system, merciless and true, ticked upward with every attempt. In the morning, the apology arrived stripped of polish. He posted a photo of the shattered glass swept into his cup palms, tiny paper stars clinging to his skin like they didn't want to leave. The caption was plain. "I hurt my wife by refusing to draw boundaries and by excusing behavior I knew was wrong. I forgot that loyalty without respect is just cowardice and nice clothes. I am sorry, Emma. Not to the market, not to the media, to you. Heartbreak progress 61%. My phone vibrated so hard it nearly walked off the table. PR begged me to respond. His mother called. Mike sent a single piano emoji and then a heart. The dean texted a mango. I left quick and wet. Then the doorbell to the guest house rang. I opened it to find Jason on the step without a tie, without sleep, and without Sarah. In his hands was a square box I'd never seen. Inside, nestled on dark cloth, lay a new glass bottle, thicker this time, weighted, not yet filled. Beside it, a small pile of reconstructed paper. I recognized the stars he'd managed to save, refolded with clumsy, careful fingers. "I'm not asking you to forgive me today," he said. "I'm asking you to watch who I become when I choose you first." The system's interface blurred, then refocused, showing me a new forecast I hadn't seen before. A path that didn't require me to break to prove love. Heartbreak progress held at 61% and flickered between 2 futures like a coin on its edge. And then the universe, mercifully committed to drama, knocked its elbow against the table. A new banner slid over every feed. Exclusive photos allegedly from last night. Sarah not tucked away in shame, but laughing in a hotel bar with a director who was notorious for trading roles for favors. The date stamps were damning, the smiles surgical. Jason looked over my shoulder at the headline, his mouth a thin line. "This isn't about her anymore," I said. "I know," he answered. Behind his shoulder, the driveway filled with sudden noise, tires, doors, voices pitched high with a smell for blood. The press had found the guest house. A microphone bobbed like a gull over the hedge. "Miss Griffin, will you take him back?" I met Jason's eyes. He didn't flinch from the question. I hadn't decided yet, and he could see it. I stepped outside anyway. Reporters called my name like it belonged to them. Jason stood a step behind me, close enough to catch me if I fell, far enough to prove he'd finally learned not to steer. Will you take him back? I let the question land. The hedge rustled. A microphone trembled at the edge of the path. I saw my reflection in its silver head, tired, clear-eyed, alive. We're honoring our 30-day separation, I said evenly. No statements beyond that. Flashbulbs popped. Someone groaned, another voice, hopeful and sharp. Is this a no? It's a boundary, I said. Respect it. I turned, walked back inside, and closed the door on the feeding frenzy. The system slid a translucent banner across my vision. Heartbreak progress 68%. Optional objective available. Maximum distress. Reward. Expedited exit. No, I told it silently. Not that way. Jason waited in the foyer with his hands in his pockets like a boy who had been told to stay put. He swallowed. Thank you, he said softly, for not making a spectacle of me. I'm not protecting you, I said. I'm protecting me. He nodded. That too. We sat at the kitchen table with 2 glasses of water between us, like negotiators in a very small war. I pulled a folder from my bag and set it down. These are my conditions. He didn't flinch. Read them. No private contact with Sarah or any person I flag as a conflict. Therapy, individual and couples, with proof of attendance, transparent calendar, no gifts to any woman that you wouldn't buy for a male colleague, PR decisions that include me when they involve my name, a public restitution, a scholarship fund in my mother's name at the conservatory endowed with the amount you paid for those rubies doubled, and if any boundary is crossed, an immediate automatic donation of the same amount to the fund. No arguments, no explanations. We live apart until the 30 days end. At 31, we reassess based on actions, not pleas. He took a long breath, then a longer one. I agree. You haven't read all of it. I don't need to. I agree. The system noted it without confetti. Heartbreak progressed 72%. Regret stabilized. Integrity test pending. He signed while his hand shook. Mine did not. When we finished, he pressed his palm to the paper as if he could set the ink faster. Do you want me to leave now or? Now, I said, and surprised us both by touching his wrist. But not like you're running away, like you're going where you said you'd go. He looked at the point where my fingers rested, as if I'd set a rare bird there. He nodded once and left. The next weeks rearranged themselves with an adult, unglamorous grace. He went to therapy, I went to mine, he returned the rubies to auction and wired the full doubled sum to the conservatory. A photo of my mother and Mike's mother, 2 girls with mangoes they hadn't paid for and their hair tied in scarves, went up on the fun page with both women's names etched underneath the Mango Scholarship for Women in Music. The dean sent me a video of a first-year pianist opening a grant letter and sobbing into her hands. Jason forwarded me his therapy receipts without comment. He added me on PR drafts and cut every euphemism that hit a boundary blur. He called at 8 each night to say good evening and good night. Sometimes I answered, sometimes I didn't. The system watched, measuring steadiness instead of spikes. At day 12, a courier delivered a small parcel to the guest house, a clear plastic envelope with star fragments. We hadn't been able to salvage the week before. He'd flattened them with a patience I'd never asked him to spend and labeled each in the corner with the date it had been written. I opened one. I will believe you the first time you tell me you're uncomfortable instead of waiting until you break. I closed it and sat very still on the edge of the bed until my chest stopped trying to be a fist. At day 19, a gossip account posted an apology, small and mean as a pebble. We mischaracterized Mrs. Griffin's relationship with Mr. Wright. They are family friends. We regret the implications. Jason's lawyers hadn't sent a single letter. The conservatory's community had. Students flooded the account with clips of little girls at pianos. Mike's mother added a mango emoji to every thread. And the algorithm decided decency could trend for an afternoon. At day 24, I found Jason on the main house porch at sunrise. Jacketless, unreadable as sparrows argued in the hedge. He stood when he saw me, then forced himself to sit again like a man newly trained. "I'm not here to plead," he said. "I'm here to report." He ticked off items as if he were ashamed of making lists. Boundaries kept, calls redirected, invitations declined, therapy honest. When he finished, he rested his elbows on his knees. "I miss you. I won't use that as a weapon. It's just true." "I miss who I thought I married," I said. He nodded, and the truth didn't shatter him. It settled on his shoulders where it belonged. On day 30, the world tried to manufacture a finale. The press lined the curb at a polite distance, as if respect could be rented by the hour. PR texted, "Do you want a statement ready either way?" Mike texted a peach and then corrected it with a mango. My father-in-law's driver offered to bring the car around. "No," I typed to all of them. "I'll walk." I crossed the lawn to the main house, opened the front door, and found Jason in the foyer holding the thick new glass bottle. He didn't reach for me. He didn't talk first. That alone felt like a miracle. He set the bottle on the console table and stepped back. "I was a coward," he said, and I taught myself to call it love because it didn't require me to lose anything. The story I'd made in my head about Sarah needing protection was an excuse to avoid telling the truth. I like being the hero. I like being wanted without being asked to change. I don't want that man anymore. I'm trying to be one who can be trusted in rooms you're not in. The system flickered. Heartbreak progress 79%. Decision node reached. End condition A. Abandon end condition. B. Rebuild. Reward for either exit. Penalty for indecision loop. I stared at the bottle. The old wish glass had been fragile and romantic. This was clumsy and stout, and I realized meant to endure being dropped. "I won't forgive you for what you haven't done yet," I said, "but I won't punish you for what you're refusing to be anymore." He didn't move, but relief and grief both crossed his face like weather. "Then what do? We don't sprint to the end," I said. "We start over with the boring parts. We keep separate rooms until it feels like a home again and not a stage. We date with boundaries. We go to therapy like it's the gym. And you prove that choosing me first isn't a speech. It's a habit." He nodded. "Yes." I lifted the bottle's lid and set it beside the tray. One by one, I unfolded the stars he'd salvaged, read the small promises he'd once made to himself about me, then refolded each with care and dropped them into glass-like seeds. When I got to the last scrap, I didn't read it. I tilted it toward him. "You put this one in?" I said. "Say it out loud." He took the paper, breath trembling, and didn't ask what I thought it should be. He wrote, folded, and slipped it inside. "I choose you first every time, and if I can't, I choose not to go." The system did not ding, it dimmed. A new line appeared for the first time since I'd woken up in this book. "Mission complete. You may exit the game. Remaining here will not cost you yourself." I laughed, startled and wet-eyed, and the sound startled both of us more than the reporters ever had. Jason blinked. "What? I had a scoreboard," I said. "I just turned it off." He let out an unsteady breath, and I watched his shoulders lose 3 years of weight in a second. He stepped closer carefully, like a man approaching a deer in the grass. "Can I?" "Not yet," I said, then softened it. "Soon." We kept our word. The next weeks were deeply unromantic. We made grocery lists and walked at dusk and fought once about a dishwasher setting, and both apologized before laundry. He learned to say no when people expected him to be noble at my expense. I learned to say no before my throat bruised. We went on a date to a street market. Mike's mother handed us 2 mangoes with an indecent wink and said, "Pay me back by living well." When the conservatory held the first Mango Scholarship Gala, I wore my mother's emerald and did not feel like a prop. Jason stood not at my side, but a step behind, a place of honor he'd finally earned. Mike played a piece he said sounded like a heart relearning its rhythm. In the program's last page, the dean had written, "Legacy is what you return better than you found it." Around midnight, under a string of lights in the clean, real air of women who had not been asked to pay for their safety with their silence, Jason leaned down so I could hear him and asked, "Ready?" I pretended to think while the system, long quiet, slept like a cat in sun. Then I looked him in the eye, measured what he built where he'd once demolished, and said, "Yes." We walked home together at a human pace. In the entryway, the new wish bottle gleamed on the console. I reached into my bag, pulled out a small stack of green paper I'd cut myself, and began to fold. "What are those?" he asked, smiling like a man arriving and not invading. "My wishes," I said, and dropped the first one in. "Not for us. For me." He waited. "I will not shrink to fit a version of love that can't hold me," I said, and the paper made a soft, decisive sound against glass. We slept in the same bed that night, our breathing learning the old duet without the old lie. In the morning, before the house had decided what mood to wear, I made coffee and opened the door to the guest house and let the light and the jasmine in. A headline tried to bite at the edge of my phone. It found no purchase. The story I'd been tossed into had wanted me tragic, then grateful, then forgiving, like a benediction bestowed on a man's regret. Instead, I chose something slower and harder. Not to be a lesson, but a life. The system went very still. Then, for the last time, it spoke. "Exit confirmed. You wrote your own ending." I set the cup down, took Jason's hand when he offered it without urgency, and stepped into a day that belonged to no one's narrative but mine.